My hands shake a little now when I hold things, but when I reach down to touch the soil in my barrel out back, something happens. My fingers remember. They remember what my mind tries to forget sometimes. I'm 92 years old, and I'm about to show you something that nobody talks about anymore. Something my grandmother taught me when I was just a boy, barefoot in the summer heat, watching her hands work the earth like she was reading a book written in dirt and seeds. In one small barrel, the size you could fit in the corner of any apartment, any backyard, any corner of this world. I grow 100 pounds of potatoes every single year. 100 pounds. And this old trick I'm about to share with you, it's been forgotten by almost everyone. But not by me, not by the people who learned it from their grandparents, the way I learned it from mine. Today I want to give this knowledge to you because secrets are only worth keeping if they help someone else grow. I grew up during times when people didn't have much. Money was tight, food was tighter, and your survival depended on how much you could grow with your own two hands. My grandmother, she was a woman of about 85 when she taught me this secret. She had lived through wars, through hunger, through loss that would break most people. But her garden kept growing, her children kept eating, and she did it all in spaces so small that people walking by wouldn't even notice them. I remember one summer, I must have been about 10 years old, asking her why she was filling a big wooden barrel with dirt when we had a whole field behind the house. She smiled at me with that kind of smile that only grandmothers have, and she said, "Boy, the field is for feeding the village. This barrel is for feeding us when the world tries to forget about us." I didn't understand it then, not really, but I understood her hands. I understood the care she took with every handful of soil. She showed me how to layer things, how to prepare the barrel from the bottom up, not just throwing dirt in and hoping something would grow. She taught me that growing food is not magic, but it is a kind of patience. It is a conversation between what you plant and what the earth gives back. And that conversation starts from the very bottom, from the foundation you build. Years passed. I left that village, went out into the world, had my own family, my own struggles. But every single year, in spring, I came back to what my grandmother had shown me. Every spring, I prepared a barrel. Every summer, I harvested potatoes that seemed to multiply in ways that surprised people. My own children watched me do this. My grandchildren watched. And now I'm doing it at 92, and I still get more potatoes from one barrel than most people get from a full garden bed. The reason I'm telling you this story is because this is not just about potatoes. It is about resilience. It is about knowing that even in the smallest space, with the fewest resources, you can create abundance. You can grow something real and nourishing and true. And that is a lesson for your life, not just for your garden. So let me tell you exactly how to do this, because that is the gift my grandmother gave me, and that is the gift I want to give you. First, you need a barrel, not an expensive barrel, an old food-grade barrel, or even a large plastic storage container, or something made from wood. My own barrels, the ones I use right now, some of them are 20 years old. They have been through winters and summers and storms. The container itself is less important than what you put inside it. And what you put inside, my friends, is where the real secret lies. Start at the very bottom. You need drainage. This is the most important thing that people forget. They fill a barrel with soil and water, and then they wonder why everything dies and rots. You need air to reach the roots. You need water to flow through. So at the bottom of your barrel, put a layer of small rocks. Pebbles. Things that let water pass through but stay in place. Make this layer about 2 inches thick. Push it down gently so it settles. On top of those rocks, you need another layer. This is something my grandmother taught me, and I learned it from her wisdom and from watching how nature actually works. Put down a layer of straw or dried grass or dried leaves. Anything dry and light that will break down slowly and create air pockets. This layer should be about 2 inches as well. What this does is it creates spaces for water to move through and for roots to reach down and breathe. Most people do not think about roots breathing, but they do. They need air as much as they need water. Now comes the soil. But not just any soil. This is crucial. You need soil that is rich and alive. Buy good compost. Mix it with garden soil. Add something dark and nutritious, something that has been broken down and is ready to feed your plants. I use a mix of half compost and half garden soil, and I add a good handful of worm castings to every barrel. Worms, you see, they do the real work. They break everything down and make it into food that plants can actually use. My grandmother did not call them worms. She called them the small workers, and she treated them with respect. Fill your barrel with this mixture until it is about 1/3 full. This might seem like you are not filling it very much, but trust the process. Trust what I am telling you. Now, here is where the magic starts, and this is where most people do not understand what is happening. You are going to layer your potatoes and soil together. Take seed potatoes, small potatoes from your local garden store, and place them on top of this first layer of soil. Do not bury them, just set them there, touching the soil. You might fit about 4 to 6 seed potatoes in a standard barrel arranged around the center so they have room to grow. Now, take more of your soil and compost mixture and cover those potatoes so they are buried under about 4 inches of soil. This is the first layer. Now, wait about 2 weeks. Let that soil settle. Let those potatoes send up their first shoots. When you see the green sprouts starting to come through the top of the soil, maybe 3 inches tall, this is when you do something that most people do not do. You add another layer. This is the secret that my grandmother held like a precious thing. You bury those green shoots again. You cover them with more soil, more compost, maybe 6 inches this time. And those shoots, those green leaves, they reach up toward the light. And as they do, the buried stem, the part that was underground, it starts to grow potatoes, little potatoes, from the part of the plant that is in the dark soil. This is not magic. This is nature. But it is something that most modern gardeners have forgotten. You do this process 3 times, maybe 4 times in a long growing season. Each time you see green shoots coming up above the soil level, you cover them with more rich compost and soil. Each time you do this, you are creating more chances for potatoes to form along the buried stem. It is like the plant is saying, "You are protecting me. You are giving me soil to rest in, so I will give you more babies." And it does. By the end of the summer, your barrel is completely full of soil that has been layered with green growth and opportunity, from the bottom all the way to the top. And inside that barrel, inside all that dark living soil, there are potatoes, dozens of potatoes, sometimes more potatoes than seem possible from something so small. The water you give it should be steady but not excessive. Water when the soil feels dry to the touch, about 2 inches down. Once a week in cool weather, maybe twice a week in hot sun. And when you water, water slowly, so it soaks in. Do not let it sit on top. Now, I have lived for 92 years, and I have seen the world change so much. I have seen things that I could never have imagined when I was a boy watching my grandmother's hands move through the soil. I have seen cities grow, technology transform everything, people become disconnected from the earth in ways that would have seemed impossible to my ancestors. But I have also learned something that has stayed true throughout all of this change. When you grow your own food, when you put your hands in the soil and tend something with patience and care, you are not just growing food. You are growing something inside yourself. You are growing resilience. You are growing knowledge. You are growing hope. I think about my grandmother now, and I realize that she was not just teaching me how to grow potatoes. She was teaching me that when the world feels too big and too hard, when you do not know how you will provide for your family, there is always something you can do with your own 2 hands. You can always create. You can always grow. You can always start with what you have in front of you right now, in this moment. This barrel method, this forgotten trick, it teaches you something important about life that goes far beyond vegetables. It teaches you that abundance does not come from having a lot of space. It comes from using the space you have very, very well. It teaches you that layers matter, that what you put down first, the foundation, determines everything that comes after, that patience and consistency matter more than you might think, that if you tend something regularly, if you show up for it again and again, it will grow beyond what you imagined. When my grandchildren come and watch me harvest from my barrels, their eyes get wide with wonder. They cannot believe how many potatoes come out of something so small. And I tell them what my grandmother told me. This is what happens when you work with nature instead of against it. This is what happens when you understand that limits can become opportunities. I have watched many people try to grow their own food. Some give up after the first season because they do not see immediate results. Some think that if they do not have a big garden, there is no point in trying. Some believe that food just comes from stores, and growing it yourself is unnecessary, is too hard, is too much work for too little return. But I have also watched people discover this method, or discover something like it, and I have watched their faces change. I have watched them understand for the first time that they have power, real power, not the kind of power that comes from money or status, but the kind of power that comes from being able to create something nourishing with your own hands. That power stays with them. That power transforms them. Your health, your independence, your sense of peace in an uncertain world, all of these things improve when you know how to grow at least some of your own food. It does not matter if you live in a city or in the country. It does not matter if you have a big space or a small space. It matters that you try, that you plant something, that you tend it, that you taste the results of your own work. Before I tell you about what comes next for you, I want to share a few more small things that I have learned over almost a century of living on this earth. These are little pieces of wisdom that connect to growing potatoes, but also to growing a good life. First, waste nothing. The soil, the scraps, the old compost, the water you rinse your vegetables in, all of this is treasure. My grandmother used to say that nature has no waste department. Everything feeds everything else. When you understand this, you start to see the world differently. You start to respect the little things. You start to see connections everywhere. Second, share what you grow. Do not hoard it. I have always given my extra potatoes to neighbors, to friends, to people in the community. And something beautiful has happened because of this. People remember. People want to help you. People feel connected to you. There is healing in sharing food you have grown with your own hands. There is a kind of love in it that you cannot buy. Third, keep learning. Keep asking questions. Just because my grandmother taught me this method does not mean it is the only way or the best way. Every year I experiment a little. I try new soil mixtures, new timing, new variations. The method stays the same in its heart, but it stays alive by being flexible, by being open to improvement. Fourth, teach others. This is the most important thing I can tell you. Knowledge that is not shared dies with the person who holds it. That is why my grandmother's trick was forgotten by most people. When she died, when the people who learned from her moved away or got busy, the knowledge almost disappeared completely. It did not die because it was bad or ineffective. It died because nobody talked about it, nobody wrote it down, nobody passed it on. So I am here now, at 92 years old, and I am writing it down. I am telling you, I am sharing this with you, so that you can share it with your children, with your friends, with people who are hungry for this kind of real knowledge, this kind of self-sufficiency, this kind of connection to the earth. I think about the future sometimes. I think about the world my grandchildren and great-grandchildren will inherit. I do not know what it will look like, but I know that no matter what happens, no matter how much things change, people will always need to eat, and people will always have the power to grow something, somewhere, if they know how. If someone takes the time to teach them, if someone believes in them enough to share a secret that took generations to create. This is my hope for you. I hope that you take this method, this forgotten trick, and you use it. I hope that you fill a barrel with soil and seed potatoes, and I hope that you spend the summer tending it, watering it, covering those green shoots layer by layer. I hope that in the fall, when you reach into that barrel and pull out potato after potato after potato, you feel what I feel. That sense of wonder, that sense of pride, That feeling that you did something real, something tangible, something that matters. And if you do this, if you try this method, I hope you will come back and tell me about it. I hope you will tell me about your harvest. I hope you will tell me about what you learned, because that is how we keep this knowledge alive. That is how we make sure that the secrets of our ancestors do not disappear into silence. The world is hungry for this kind of wisdom right now. People are tired of feeling powerless. People are hungry not just for food, but for connection to something real, something they can touch and tend and harvest with their own hands. People want to know that they matter, that their actions matter, that they can create something of value right where they are with what they have. So I am asking you now to do something for me. Subscribe to this channel. Let me share more of these forgotten tricks with you. More of these lessons that my grandmother and her grandmother and all the generations before them learned through patience and observation and love. Let me share the wisdom that has kept me healthy and strong and connected to life even at 92 years old. The truth is, I will not be here forever. None of us will be. But what we know, what we have learned, what we have seen work in our own lives, that can live on. That can go into the world and help someone somewhere grow something beautiful. And that is what I want my life to mean. That is what I want my years to be for. So plant those potatoes, tend that barrel, watch the miracle happen, and then come back and tell me your story. Tell me how it grew. Tell me what you learned. Tell me what you are going to teach someone else, because that is how we build a better world. One barrel at a time. One person at a time, one secret shared, one generation to the next. I am 92, and I have forgotten many things, but I have not forgotten how to grow, and I am not going to let you forget either. Welcome to a community of people who understand that the smallest spaces can hold the greatest abundance, and that the most important inheritance we can leave behind is not money or things, but knowledge. Real knowledge, alive knowledge. Knowledge that feeds people. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to an old man's story. Subscribe, plant your barrel, and let me hear from you. Let us grow this together.